Antonio, welcome to the program.
Hey Matt, how are you?
Doing great. Well, Antonio, you're in a very unique position in the world. You sit in Singapore, where HOYA has a very large presence. And I'm curious about your view of cataract surgery in the region. How do you think we're doing in the efforts to eradicate avoidable blindness?
In the past few years, the topic of eye care has become an increasingly significant part of the WHO agenda. That's in part because the leading causes of blindness are issues that can be either avoided or corrected. As the population ages, the prevalence of cataracts will increase rapidly. For these reasons, WHO has set an ambitious global target to achieve a 30% increase in effective coverage of cataract surgery by 2030. I believe the ophthalmology industry has made huge progress in this respect, not only in APAC, of course, globally. For decades, we have supported surgeons with technologies and training to make cataract surgery safe and at the same time efficient. Nevertheless, access to rural areas is the main issue today.
I think in Asia Pacific, we also have a unique position where there's a bit of a myopia, more than a bit of a myopia epidemic happening. And of course, HOYA has different divisions, some of which address optometric issues. And I'm curious whether you think our region has a better chance to bring optometrists and ophthalmologists together to overcome issues, whether it's related to myopia or other aspects of avoidable blindness.
Within the same space of ophthalmology, another significant step has been recently made to help fight and control myopia, which is indeed a hidden pandemic. OMS, for example, predicts that by 2025, 54% of the population will be myope. MyoSmart is an innovative, non-invasive myopia management spectacle lens from HOYA Vision Care Division, which helps to slow down childhood myopia. This type of advancement is amazing when we think of the potential positive long-term impact in preventing retinal detachments in high myopes. So from my side, I'm really proud of what HOYA engineers have been producing. And clearly all those innovations will have significant impact on both quality of life and productivity. I truly believe that if we think about the technology of managing myopia through spectacle lenses, there is clearly an opportunity to find a synergy between optometrists and surgeons more and more. So I agree that with all those investments in myopia management, those two worlds will have to come together. Absolutely.
Fascinating. Well, I think it must bode well, or could bode well, for companies within ophthalmology as well, because, it seems that when you look at the top end of the spectrum, in other words, age-related cataract, you're looking at older people. Even, let's say, with refractive lens exchange, that's probably, 40s, 50s plus type group. But I suppose, once you get into myopia management, then you're hitting the youngsters. So there would be a possibility for a company to follow an individual from the early stage of life into later stages and kind of follow that customer journey. So it seems like this could actually be something that benefits our industry as well.
I think when it comes to life cycle of the patient, it. I truly believe that we are entering in a new dimension in cataract refractive surgery where light adjustable lenses became recently available in the market. Those are IOLs technology which can be customized after cataract surgery to further improve patients' outcomes. So we have to imagine a future where you implant a lens in the eye of the patient and that lens can be modified any point of time. By doing so, we will be able to address patient needs according to the life cycle of the patient. That's, for me, is fantastic.
You know, that's a fascinating point. And I remember the light adjustable lens, you know, there was a lot of news about that even in the, say, early to mid to later 2000s. That's been an innovation in the making for quite a while. And now that AI is upon us, I'm curious whether, you know, digitally adjusted IOLs might be possible in the future, maybe even more affordably, since we know that in regions like India, you know, there's other types of procedures that are more manual, but if something could be implanted and then even adjusted later, that seems like that would be an innovative boon, would you say?
I like the terminology you used and to think about IOL which can be digitally adjusted. Of course, we are very far from that moment, right? I mean, truly light adjustable IOL will become more and more popular, but to go in the direction you are describing, we will get there probably in 20 years, not earlier. I see a future in ophthalmology where technology will also allow patients to stay as much possible far from hospitals. And patient can be already go through a checkup, through an application or through a website. I think there is a huge effort in trying to keep the patients as much out of the hospital setting and to ensure that with those technologies, surgeons can continuously have a touch point with the patients. So imagine if those technologies would allow to engage the patients pre-operatively and of course post-operatively by reducing the burden to go to the hospital and to have a checkup. COVID has been accelerating a trend in that digital direction, and we will see more and more of those technologies entering our daily life in ophthalmology.
Absolutely. And you know, we've heard that, of course, there are low-cost IOLs available from Indian manufacturers, but it's also very important to consider the innovation on the cusp of the frontier of what's possible. Things that are put out, like, for example, from HOYA. And I think the time element here is important. For example, you know, almost 50 years ago, was the end of the Vietnam War or American War, depending on how you put it, here in Da Nang, Vietnam. And the landscape here in the city has changed incredibly. It's incredible what you see done in 40, 50 years. Now, if we apply that kind of timeline to cataract surgery, perhaps, you know, eye camps, those remote villages where care is needed in terms of cataract surgery, as you say, it could be just a digital alteration from a computer back in Delhi or Bangalore. And that future is very important because it means that more of us out in the developing world have access to care. And so I would cheer your company on to continue with the innovations, absolutely.
Truly, the growth in the IOL business will be driven by advanced technology IOLs. So moves against avoidable blindness are happening across the board. In terms of cataract surgery, again, we see a lot of developments in the IOL space. For most of the history in modern cataract surgery, we have been replacing the natural crystalline lens with a monofocal lens. But for example, in the last few years, we have started to see advanced technology IOLs bringing the next wave of innovation to patients. I like to mention the enhanced monofocal, which allow to correct cataract and target distance vision, but also provide a small but significant benefit at the intermediate view, which is a great addition for patients who cannot afford to pay out of their pocket.
Yeah, that's all very fascinating. I mean, I suppose we're sort of at the mid game right now where, you have IOLs that are multifocal, but essentially they're just splitting light to different focal points. And that's kind of I suppose it's kind of a manual way to do it. So innovations still to come for sure. And I want to thank you for sharing all about that. Meanwhile, let's go to the pictures for a moment of some situations in eye care in the developing world. And we'd just like to get your comments. Just a moment.
This is beautiful, right? I mean, when you see those kind of pictures, you understand why we work in ophthalmology. So allowing patients to see clearly again is what makes our day, especially when you see children, even younger than the one we see in that picture, wearing glasses and all of a sudden seeing things that they were not able to see before. And you start to see the smile in their face. That's really amazing. I've been in surgery, pediatric surgery, many times, and probably those times has been the one truly touching my emotions, because of course children, they don't know what is going to happen. They are afraid. There is no mom, there is no dad. It's nice to see people around them in the operating room trying to work hard and harder than usual to ensure that they have a journey in the operating room which is smoother for them. Those nurses, everybody there are just heroes.
Antonio Gianno, on behalf of Orbis, thank you for the interview today. We appreciate your fascinating thoughts.
Matt, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I wish you all the best.